What's going on, everyone? Happy Monday. Welcome into HQ Spotlight on CBS Sports Network. I'm Jacqueline D'Agostino with the absolute pleasure. Ran Carthon joining us here on set. So, Ran, the NFL trade deadline creeping up November 4th. So we're going to talk about two different divisions, all of their needs as we approach that November 4th date. Starting with the AFC North. Before we get into it, Ran, what is one word to describe the AFC North right now? It is kind of crazy.
I was going to say confusing.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Confusing. I like it. We don't really know what the heck we're going to get. But still, the Steelers, despite losing on Thursday Night Football to the Bengals, still at the top of the division, still plus 135 to win the division. But man, here come the Bengals, dare I say it. Joe Flacco kind of looking like the one Super Bowl MVP quarterback, Joe Flacco, but this time passing the ball to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. They're at 3-4. They're not out of this thing just yet. The Browns picking up their second win of the season, 2-5, and then we have the Ravens sitting at the bottom. But hey, they're plus 135 to win the division as well.
Confusing.
What the heck is that? All right.
Confusing.
Yes, exactly. Vegas still has faith, and maybe we should, considering if Lamar Jackson does come back, and we'll get to it. Let's start with the Cincinnati Bengals, and it's no surprise that when we're talking about needs, Ran, we are talking about the O-line because, man, we know what happens when you can't protect Joe Burrow and now potentially Joe Flacco.
Yeah, and so we've talked about, this group and their offensive line, and they've spent a lot of resources in trying to fix this position and find people for this position, but it's just been, unfortunately, they haven't chosen the right guys. And, I mean, let's be honest, this group they have talent. It's about just getting it all to work together because playing offensive line is more about unison. It's more like synchronized swimming. It's more about the sum than the individual parts. But they have needs at the offensive line spot because we saw in the game that they just won. Remember, I sat here in this very spot and pleaded with them to run the football.
Yes.
And they did, and Chase Brown went over 100 yards, and what happened? They won the football game.
And he was great on my fantasy team as well. It's a win-win situation, Rand. It's all, complimentary football in terms of my fantasy team and their performance.
It's really simple.
Exactly. Just
really
run
simple.
The dang ball. We've said that so many times. We've talked about it with Atlanta, with Cincinnati. But yeah, O-line, that is what we're looking at here for the Bengals. Let's talk about the Browns because they get their second win of the season. They absolutely destroy the Dolphins at home in some pretty AFC North-like weather that we're used to seeing. Felt like the first real AFC North weather football game that we've seen so far. They're sitting at 2-5. So what's the biggest need for Cleveland in your eyes?
I still think they need another receiver opposite of Jerry Jeudy, just to give them another playmaker on the perimeter. Now, the way they're playing football, they're putting it all on Quinshon Judkins and putting it in his hands and allowing him to lead them. You saw him yesterday. I think he had 3 touchdowns on the ground yesterday, using him in a variety of ways. And they haven't put the ball in Dillon Gabriel's hands too much. But as this schedule gets tougher, as this season goes on, teams are going to start stacking the box and they're going to start forcing Dillon Gabriel to be able to throw the football. And the number one thing is if Jerry Jeudy is your only weapon on the perimeter, your primary weapon, teams are going to figure out how to take him away. And so I feel like they need another player opposite of him. However you get there, probably won't be able to address it this year, but I think that's going to be a need for them moving forward.
Yeah, really, just a quick follow here on Dillon Gabriel. Do you think it's better that sooner rather than later that they kind of let Dillon Gabriel, let it rip and see what you got? I know we're kind of sort of playing it safe right now, but I mean, the quarterback situation there is tough. So don't you want to see Dillon Gabriel, see him kind of try and stretch the field sooner rather than later?
I'll say it this way, and I don't know if I'm exactly answering your question, but I will say it this way. Them not doing so tells us what they think.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It does.
Because if it was Jackson Dart and he came in and they just let him rip. They play to his ability. They have the quarterback runs. They move him around. They let him throw the ball up and down the yard. But Kevin Stefanski is managing Dillon Gabriel to the best that he knows how, and he's giving him just very little to do. Sure. And so on one end, you're doing what's best for your football team and you're running the football, you're playing good defense behind it, and it's giving you opportunities to win games. But on the other end, you don't trust your quarterback to push the ball downfield.
Yeah, so maybe it's what they're not doing. Could be a little bit more telling than what's to say. All right, let's go to the Ravens because this is a team, oh boy, dealing with so many injuries as they're sitting there at the bottom of the division, 1-5. fingers crossed that Lamar Jackson is going to be back here, because it feels like they really need to get things going against the Chicago Bears. But what is the main concern here as they're dealing with a laundry list of injuries?
Well, my initial thought was, what is their biggest need? I was going to say Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, literally.
that was going to be my first, but I just think they need some offensive tackle depth.
Yeah.
Ronnie Stanley is getting up there in age, and he's kind of been in and out of the lineup a little bit, banged up with some injuries here and there, and he finds a way to come in and play for his football team and contribute. But I just think there you're going to need some more tackle help, some more, just like kind of how they addressed it with the secondary. You go out and you have a plethora of guys that you sign that can play, the Cheeto Awuzie's, the Jair Alexanders, and you have a complement of guys there. It's the same thing you're going to need at the offensive tackle spot, because like it or not, the offensive tackle spot is really a skill position, and you have to treat it as such, which is why those guys are paid the level they're paid, and the reason why you draft them as high as you do.
All right, I want to get to the Steelers, because, Rand, I'm watching the Cowboys game yesterday, and I'm thinking, man, George Pickens, you know, they could have really used him this season in Pittsburgh, right? Obviously, he's a very different situation, and he's balling out, but that kind of brings us to what the Steelers need right now, and that is another weapon for Aaron Rodgers on offense.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think this one here, you have DK Metcalf, and DK, when given opportunity, he has played well. The other night, they really used their tight ends. You got all the tight ends involved, and those guys play a big part. But I think you need to complement DK. You need a bigger wide receiver that can work that short to intermediate area, a guy that can win in a contested area just in terms of being able to create separation and work themselves open. And so I think they need another weapon at wide receiver to kind of help DK Metcalf out, and as well as those tight ends, the plethora of tight ends they have.
Yeah, and I know we're talking trade deadline, but really quickly before we wrap this up, because I think it's so bizarre that the top of the division and the bottom of the division have the same odds to win it. And we said it's confusing, but when it's all said and done, who do you think ultimately comes out on top? Is it going to be Pittsburgh? Is it going to be the Ravens? Or is it going to be someone else, another wild card like the Bengals or something?
I'm going to, listen, kill me, crush me. I still got faith that the Ravens will turn this thing around with Lamar Jackson. And they still have to play. I believe the Steelers and Ravens still have to play twice.
Yeah.
And so that's going to work itself out if they can get on this run. But if those guys get healthy and they get all their stars back, because at one point they were playing without 7 Pro Bowlers.
Yeah.
So if they get all their stars back, I think there's an opportunity for the Ravens. I mean, Vegas knows better than I in terms of the odds, and so I'll let them have that part. But I think the Ravens can still win.
I just don't know if I've ever seen that, where the top of the division and the bottom of the division, as we're going into week 8, have the same odds to win it. But, you know, like you said, AFC North, kind of confusing at this point of the season. Rand, we appreciate it. Hang tight. We have more football to discuss, because we're going to talk about the NFC North in just a moment. But let's get back to the AFC North, the Week 8 slate. The Ravens, Sunday on CBS. And again, that kind of feels like a must-win sort of situation for the Ravens here, hoping that Lamar can be back in that one for the sake of the Ravens. The Browns and the Patriots, you have the Bengals and the Jets, and then the Aaron Rodgers revenge game part 2, but this time he's facing his former squad in the Packers on Sunday at 8:20 Eastern.